Good morning, friends. May I invite Dr. Abraham Varghese, the former director. Please come, sir. And the former principal scientist of IIHR, Bangalore, to the dais. And may I invite Dr. Uday Narayan Bhatt, Koppad. And we have one more speaker along with me, but due to his pre-occupancy, he was not able to attend this function. He is not able to attend this function. So, coming back to the session, we have predators, parasites, and pollinators. In this session, we will be intensively talking on these three topics. And to simplify these three topics to the industry, because the auditorium is filled majority with the industry, and most of us are agriculture background and agriculture graduates, but still we will be talking about the predators that are, we call this, all these things, the first session is on microbes and plant growth promoters, and the second session now is macrobials. We call this as macrobials, predators, parasites, and pollinators. Though they are the forgotten topics in Indian context, they are very, very important. In the sense, imagine we have everything for agriculture, starting from the fertilizer, pesticide inputs, and bio-agri inputs, excluding all these pollinators. And what will happen to the agriculture? So we cannot do agriculture without pollinators. Though it is a forgotten topic, we want to emphasize, BIPA want to emphasize that these three predators, parasites, and pollinators are as important as that of any other agri-input systems. And more importantly, you all know about predators like spider, parasites. Parasites includes parasitoids and parasites like entomopathogenic nematodes or the Trichogramma chylonis. There is a difference between a parasite and a parasitoid. Parasitoid, one part of the life is free living and it kills the host. This is the difference. And you know about the honeybees and the pollinators, other pollinators. So before going into the detail about this subject, this is the formal introduction about the subject. I request Dr. Abraham Varghese to talk about his top title.
Yeah. I request the first slide, the presentation to be put on. And at the outset, I'm extremely grateful to BIPA for inviting me. John, Peter, Raj, Agarwal, and all were in touch with me, and they brought me here. I'm grateful to you. And macrobials means parasitoids and predators. And I'm not very comfortable speaking this to an audience who have put the commercial bioindustry of our country on the international map, simply because we do not have any parasitoids or predators in a commercial sense. And therefore, my talk would probably, I'm not sure, would stimulate some commercialization in this area. Now, if you look at this, sir, can I? Hello, hello. Yeah. Now, if I would say, since the major success we had with DDT, the limitations that was brought out by Rachel Carson's Silent Spring put brakes on the chemical industry. And then we had in the 70s a concept called the integrated pest management. And integrated pest management slowly clawed its way with the use of insecticides that got integrated. And as a result, 99% of IPM was nothing but insecticides only. And for namesake, we have this term IPM, and it has almost become a cliche today. Now, if you look carefully at the slide which I am presenting, you see that biocontrol using parasitoids or predators have been successful only if there is no insecticide use or low insecticide use. I'm just giving two examples, the sugarcane woolly aphid and the papaya mealybug. In both these cases, insecticides, sugarcane insecticidal spray after a stage is impossible. In papaya, it is absolutely not needed. Only people have some panic spray of imidacloprid for controlling ring spot virus, which is also not essential. Now, so these two crops have no insecticides, and therefore biocontrol with a single release, not even inundative or inoculative release, has worked. Now, if you see this tomato, Tuta absoluta, which came in 2014, we all worked at the NBAR, and we had a host of parasitoids discovered, and we published it in Current Science also. But what happened? When the pinhole borer, which attacks the tomato, a single spray of flubendamide, that's all. The entire lot of parasitoids disappeared. So today also, Tuta absoluta, you can control only with, say, azadirachtin and pheromones. And parasitoids are only there on paper because we cannot avoid insecticides. Now, how exactly to actuate these microbials? One excellent model is the rice ecosystem in Thrissur, Manuti, Kerala. You know what? The state government has given all the infrastructure in terms of breeding for parasitoids. So they have given almost 30 to 40% support. And now the farmers have been told not to spray insecticides, and many of them don't spray insecticides. They believe in organic. So almost 13 hectares of rice in Manuti are without insecticides, and trichogramma is sold there. And trichogramma, then trichoderma, and then you have Pseudomonas also. All these things are brought, and the lab in Manuti, Thrissur is run on a profitable basis, and it is commercial. But there is a state support which I want to emphasize. And this can be done again in sugarcane, maize, coconuts. Now, for the private industry, this should be the approach. Now, if the state is not supporting, you cannot have parasitoids or predators. So, State Agriculture University, ICAR, KVKs should offer space or temporary structures in the field during the season, and they should give other know-hows. Now, suppose you have to establish the whole thing, it will be very costly. To rear parasitoids, you have to rear a host insect called Coursera. Now, Coursera rearing is very costly. And if the state government can give, the state universities can give that, then these parasitoids and predators can be reared. One example is the horticulture, YSR Horticulture University, which is in Venkatramanagudam. Now there, they are supplying the Coursera eggs. And the commercial people are multiplying a predator. What happens? It is semi-viable. Otherwise, it's certainly not viable. Now, if you look at the predators, predators are more viable for commercial production. There was a time when I used to recommend Cryptolaemus montroserae for the grape mealybug control from PCI. But they found it difficult to rear the way we have on pumpkins and the supply and cannibalism of the grubs. So they wound it up. And I know Dr. Uday is sitting here. They are ready to release Cryptolaemus and give it to the grape growers. And grape growers in Maharashtra, they can afford it. But, they have many legalistic and administrative issues, and they are not able to do it. They have also stopped. Now, what I found in South Africa, in Stellenbosch, you have a rearing houses in the vineyard. Staked, you have these pumpkins hanging from 8 feet above, and big houses in the grape field, run by private people and the grape growers. They just walk in, take the predatory grubs, release in the field. So that kind of an approach, if can be made commercially viable, only then it will be possible. Now, predatory mites. We are rearing in bread boxes, and we have published in Current Science. Good, academically. That is mass rearing. Mass rearing is not commercial rearing. Commercial rearing needs a different kind of research. So I told in the last All India Coordinated Biocontrol, our now focus should be on research on upscaling commercial rearing. Only then the commercial people can take up. That means we should have big greenhouses, glass houses, walk-in houses where predators can be reared, and that can be harvested and released. Otherwise, in boxes, bread boxes, no, it is not possible at all, and no commercial people would come forward to do that, and that's why we don't have them here. So what the biocontrol research in India, which is almost 100 years old, have been having its great glory. But interventional biocontrol, that means farmer buying, using, needs a million-fold scaling up. Otherwise, it is not possible. So what we have international biocontrol suppliers, which we need to take a cue from them, and we have people like Uday who know it all, and who can probably help. That bell says how many minutes more? 2 more minutes, okay. So we need to do this scaling up, and I'm happy that many commercial organizations, many of you here, are using BIRAC programs. Now, BIRAC is an excellent program, and for parasitoids, predators, the macrobials, microbes are good, I'm for it. But macrobials also, BIRAC program for research on upscaling is needed. So that is what is needed. And for pollinators, there are many wild pollinators, but we can't catch them and sell them. But pollinators, we can hire, and there are only 2 species. One is this Apis species, the domestic bee. And another one is the stingless bee, Trigonella. Now, NBAIR in Bangalore has scaled up, and they have shown how it can be mass multiplied. And for greenhouses and polyhouses, Trigonella is one of the best pollinators, not the Apis. So this is something which you can do, and they don't swarm like the other bee. Now, and moreover, honeybee, you have several products. Korea is the example. Several products, including cosmetic creams. So way forward, way onward is scaling up Then from Coursera box, we have to get out of the Coursera box into greenhouses. NBAR, look to NBAR only as a supplier of organisms and the cultures. We have more than 108 live maintained parasitoids and predators, and any parasitoid or predators can be supplied. But we will never be able to give the farmers, okay? So, adoption of biocontrol is less than 3% in our country. And finally, I would like to tell, I've been running a journal called Insect Environment, where the subscription is free the last 24 years. And those of you who have short notes, interesting notes to write, please write. Cabby is abstracting it. It is downloadable, absolutely free. And next year is the Silver Jubilee. Maybe I'll collaborate with BIPA and have a Silver Jubilee celebration for Insect Environment. Thank you very much, John. Thank you, Uday, and thank you all of you. Thank you. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you very much, sir. As a gentleman, he has completed his talk within 10 minutes. Thank you very much. And now, these 3 Ps are having several problems, as well as they are also having some commercial potential. And how to go ahead in the commercial angle, in this session we will be discussing. And what are all the bottlenecks that are being faced by the industry? May I request Dr. Uday Narayan Bhatt to address some of the commercial difficulties in popularizing all these biocontrol agents.
Thank you, Mr. Peter. Thank you, Dr. Varghese, for starting this particular discussion. I thank the organizers for giving us an opportunity to be here and share our thoughts with you on this challenging topic, because we have been in India for the last 10 years, and macrobials, without macrobials, it's not complete. Your biocontrol is not complete. And so I would like to take few minutes of yours to go through some of the slides. The challenges which we face in India in importing these beneficial insects. Can you please put this slide, Akash? How can we start? Yeah. So policies of importing beneficial insects, parasitoids, predators, and pollinators into India. Next slide. The challenges in trade of invertebrate biocontrol agents, these are called as invertebrate biocontrol agents. Increasing regulation on imports and release of IBCA. What are the main concerns of the country as such? It's environmental safety, the risk to local flora and fauna, and in that, it's the non-native species. There are 2 things. One is the native species which are found in nature in India, and the other one is the imported ones which are non-native. The second one is the identity and purity of these particular organisms which you get into the country. So these are the 2 things which usually any government or any country thinks of when it comes to import of IBCA. The consequence, because of this consequence is, the procedures are not clear at all. Data requirements are often not applicable for natural enemies. Sometimes they are treated as pesticides. Lack of expertise in the authorities, long and unclear processes, and this leads to high investment in time, costs are too high. This slows down the developmental activities of biocontrol. And we really need help from the industry, from the stakeholders, from the growers who want it. In fact, a lot of greenhouses around the country, they call us for these beneficial insects, but we are not able to support them. As of now, we are not importing them. Safety of food and environment is put into risk if you don't have microbials. This is what we would like to bring up here. We are talking of food safety, we are talking of environmental safety. If you use excessive chemicals, you are putting it into a risk. Is there a need for regulation? We should understand this. The two points which the government thinks is, one is environmental safety, one is human safety. When you say human health risk is not considered to be important, not known, because there has not been a single beneficial insect which has been harmful to any human being in the world. Only during mass multiplication or production of this, in case of certain mites and nematodes, there is dust allergy. Otherwise, there is no, not recorded any safety hazards. Similarly, environmental risk. What we talk of environmental risk, this particular multiplication and use of beneficial microbials has been prevalent since in 196 countries for more than 120 years. And more than 5,000 introductions of about 2,000 species of exotic arthropods has been done, and it has been reported in 2006. So I think by now it has crossed that 120 years also. So not a single environmental risk has been reported of microbials. So I think this is an important point which I think we should all as an industry bring to the notice of the government, and we should tell them that, why are you stopping import of these things? In fact, they are not stopping it, they are putting impediments or they are putting obstacles to it. So all these microbes, all these microbials, they are in European and Mediterranean Plant Protection Organization standards. They are as per those standards. There is a standard procedure and protocol. Similarly, there is a standard procedure and protocol in other parts of the world, in US and other things. So this is why Europe I am referring, because our company is from Europe, and then they follow this standard protocol which is followed in different parts of the world. So there are about 134 species of natural enemies, either indigenous or established or released in 5 countries for 5 continuous years, and they have not shown any problems, or they have been evaluated and there is no negative effect. Based on this, they are in those EPOP list, and this has been evaluated by European and Mediterranean Plant Protection Organization and International Organization of Biocontrol panel. So based on this, they are allowed to be used globally. As of now, Koppert is a company based out of Netherlands. We have subsidiaries across the globe, 30 subsidiaries across the globe, and we are selling our products in more than 100 countries as per these guidelines, and then going on successfully, not a single problems or complaints of any negative effect. So regulation for import and release of IBCA in Europe, the example is, based on the EPO standards, the guidelines for information requirement for insects, mites, nematodes, the basic biology is asked, information of the release is asked, efficacy is not the basis for permit, environmental risk assessment is done in case of non-native species. In case of native species, only this particular information is sufficient for giving an import permit. For non-native species, there is environmental risk assessment which has to be done. Differences per country exist. And based on those standards, in Netherlands, what they do is they have quick and dirty scan based on available data from literature. Based on the literature, how has it performed in different parts of the world? Those data are collated. Then additional tests, if required, is done. Then compilation of dossiers as per the EPOP standard, because there is proper procedure in that EPOP standard, and as per that, all those data are presented for native and non-natives. Application of dossiers is given to the ministry. Evaluation is done by the experts in the plant protection services, and within 8 weeks, there is a response. I am referring to Netherlands. permits are given for 5 years. I will now come to what is happening in India. Procedure for import of invertebrates in India, the concern about identity and purity, the challenges. See, what is happening is we are told that if at all the insects are imported through our Mumbai airport, they have to be brought to a quarantine facility in Bangalore. And if we get it to a quarantine facility in Bangalore and it is quarantined and then taken to the greenhouses, maybe in Nasik or in Hyderabad or some other place, the insects would die. That particular quarantine is not required for these particular organisms. You know, it's coming through a proper procedure and sets. So this has to be really taken out. This is not necessary because the shelf life of these organisms are very short. Each number of day you delay, there is a problem. Any delay in handling affects quality. Shelf life is very short. Quarantine is impossible for this thing, and this concern should not be there because we don't have any negative report from any parts of the world. Identity and purity is guaranteed through phytosanitary certificate. The procedures are well laid out, and there are random inspections by the government authorities in the site of mass multiplication. Strict hygiene is followed. So quarantine is not to be a big concern. No examples of quarantine for invertebrate biocontrol agency in any country in the world. Only in India, they have put this as an impediment. They put, yeah, you have to quarantine because you cannot quarantine these live organisms. This is, all the quality is checked and it conforms to international standards as per this guideline. And efficacy tests have been done across the world and it has been proven to be effective. And regulations for import in India, permits are limited for 12 months. And in fact, thanks to Dr. Varghese under his leadership in NBIR, we had an MOU with them and they did post-entry quarantine studies and they all recommended this as safe insects for import. There were 2 or 3 which were not indigenous, but they did pest risk assessment studies, post-entry quarantine studies, and based on that, we have permits for about 9 beneficial insects. Thank you, sir. Another 1 minute. And for limited range of organisms, that is again another problem, but still the procedure is unclear in India. Just an example, we did it in Namdari Farm Fresh in 5,000 square meters, IPM and biocontrol to control thrips, aphids and spider mites. We used about 6 beneficial insects for this. And the end result was in biological control, we had just 5% pest pressure. The quality of the product was good, 70% as compared to 60%, 20% higher yield, no exposure of our workmen for the chemicals. It is eco-friendly and it's a safe thing to be followed. So after 5 years, what have we learned? Promising results, no negative effects, full product package required, considerable reduction in pesticides use. We need permits for full package of products, permits for a longer period and clear procedure. Please note that biocontrol is a system because you cannot, it's not a product per se. I mean, there's a system. To control one insect or the pest, you may need 2 beneficial insects. So, you know, we have to allow the package. Like in India, we have a lot of problem of whitefly. We have got a permit to import Swisky mites, but Erythromecerus eremicus we can't import, which is also required to control whitefly. That's an example. So we have to smoothen this process, and this will help us to really get into the macrobial biocontrol in India. This is safe for food and environment, and we are putting it under risk if we don't use it. Pollination, I just have one slide wherein pollination will help in bumblebee as a pollinator, will help in increasing the yield, better fruit shape, better shelf life. It visits more number of flowers as compared to honeybees, and it acts in varied climatic condition, too hot, too cold, too rainy, and you need less number of bumblebees as compared to honeybees. So 98% in the tomato greenhouses in Europe, they use bumblebees, We are selling about 1.2 million hives of bumblebees across the globe. In India, not yet. There are challenges for that. So to conclude, these are the recommendations from COPPERT for regulation of invertebrate biocontrol agents and pollinators. Make specific regulations for the industry. Basically, we are the only company in India as of now into this. There was one more company from Israel which closed down because the government was not supporting. The second thing is involve industry in development of regulations. Don't make it directly bureaucratic or the regulatory thing. Involve the industry. I mean, we would like to protect nature. We work in partnership with nature. We don't want to sabotage nature. We want to work and we want to give a successful solution to our growers here in India. Take advantage of the work done in Europe. Don't reinvent the wheel. Assure open communication between authorities and applicants. No need for quarantine on imports because there is phytosanitary certificate which is as per the international standards, which is the government regulation with various countries. Inspection fee is an important thing. What they brought is they gave us import permit for 9 insects, but they introduced an inspection fee which is about 1.5 lakhs per acre. Now they reduced it to 75,000 per acre. No farmer can afford. It should be rationalized as per the seed industry. Customs import. This falls under Chapter 1 under animals and they have 30% import customs duty. It should be rationalized. They are for biocontrol. It should be coming under 5% or zero duty. COPPERT is willing to cooperate with ICAR institutes in mass multiplication of local bumblebee. We had initial discussions also, but we have given a proposal. If that comes in, it's an excellent product for the growers in India. So thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you for giving me some extra time. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much, Mr. Bhatt. And to save a patient, doctors struggle a lot. To kill a human, terrorists take few bullets. So you are struggling to save the universe. The struggle is noticeable. And I have the responsibility of introducing BIPA to the members who have not attended yesterday's meet. And I will take some 3 to 4 minutes of the time in this session to introduce about BIPA. BIPA we call insect alarm pheromone or aggregating pheromones. Apart from sex pheromones, what commercial aspects of the leaves and other things next session is going to talk about. And likewise, all the industries, when the government agency has challenged the competency as well as the reliability of some of our products that are not come under regulation in those days, 22 years before, and we struggled a lot to prove that we are innocent, but they were not able to accept our innocence. So when it went beyond our limit of control, we went to the court of law, and BIPA was formed as an association, and BIPA was the first association in the country to get a stay as well as the verdict for biological inputs. So and subsequently, several other associations have followed it, and I call personally this as aggregation pheromone out of the choice, no choice. But now, today, we all assembled here to meet, discuss, and get the knowledge out of what is the latest technology in science as well as especially in agri inputs. And though we got the regulatory, the stay and the verdict, and the government took nearly 15 years to bring back all those that are opposed in a regulatory framework under biostimulant. And this biostimulant also is hatchy-patchy, very stringy, and very difficult to meet by the industry. And more importantly, several of the important ingredients are missing. And these ingredients are to be added. BIPA is fighting for that. One of the best example is we have the crop burning. Yesterday there was a good discussion by Ratan Lal. And this crop burning can be avoided if we are integrating the microbials in a suitable way for fast degradation. No such formulations are permitted in this Biostimulant Act. So BIPA is trying to pitch on that. And in fact, though we are one of the oldest in India, and when other associations in the country came forward and formed a national biostimulant forum, BIPA wholeheartedly agreed and became a part of this national biostimulant forum, thanks to all the members of other associations, members from Gujarat, members from Haryana, members from Maharashtra. They are all here to witness this. This is BIPA, because we also understand the requirement in the country, what is to be what we should do in the country to make these biological agri inputs in a successful way. Because there are muscle powers, there are multinational powers, there are several other problems related in that are suppressing the biological inputs, though they are all very important to us. And today's session, we have 5 session topics. First and second is about to complete. And this session also, we have made in such a way that the academicians are traveling along with the industry. 50% of the academicians and 50% of the private partners are being involved in each session to understand the better. Usually, academics, it is like a railway track, always I say. Academics will go in one line and industry will go in another line. It never merge. And this is the forum, and now government is also realizing this is the forum where we wanted to connect academic with the industry. That is the reason the first conference we have brought in with the academy as well as the industry partnership program. And subsequently, next year and the following year also, we will be assembling in the same Hyderabad, and Hyderabad will be the hub of bio-agri inputs. For the conference, every year you can come, enrich your experience and connect with people and enhance your business opportunities both in India and abroad. This is not only exclusively for the members, but we also invite those who are not becoming the member. We honestly request you to become a member and a part of BIPA program. And instead of going to Shanghai all the way and say, I am from Gujarat, I am from Maharashtra, how do you do? And we can have that kind of formal interactions at Hyderabad every year. This is the platform what we are creating. And finally, not least, and one of the committee members, every time we miss her to introduce, Mrs. Sudha Reddy from KN Bioscience. She is also one of the founder member. Please get up, madam. And she also is one of the founder member. Yesterday we missed her, and today also we missed her. So we are happy to be with you. Only lady entrepreneur who is associated with BIPA. Thank you very much, madam. And this conference, we never, as it is BIPA, yesterday also there was a misconception, we never entertain only the organic agriculture. We just wanted to reduce the chemical imprints in the country to achieve the safe food requirement. Whether it is organic or integrated pest and disease management, we wanted to improve the system. So for which we are not against the chemical companies, fertilizer companies. We just wanted to reduce the chemical footprint in the system to achieve the net positive environmental and societal impacts. And finally, one small example I can give. One of the member is Agastya Agro Limited, pure chemical company, and they have not touched any of the biologicals. They have become BIPA member, and Agastya is one of the aggressive promoter of biological right now, and they are interested in introducing more biological organisms. This is the change what we are bringing into the system of Indian agriculture because of BIPA. And we have the technology, we have both national and international connects, and we have excellent advisors to advise the panel. And we work together to improve the system. For all this, your participation is required, your support is required. Thank you once and all from BIPA. May I ask Dr. S.J. Raghuman, who has been working in biocontrol system for quite some time, to come to the dais for the panel discussion. Can you go back? Or I have to? Okay, this is my presentation, and I will be talking about private-public partnership mode for the successful biocontrol program in India, a way forward. And I am the Vice President of BIPA and Chairman of Varsha Bioscience and Technology India Private Limited. How to go? Okay. As far as we have both private players as well as the public, the government system where the cultures are available. We have CIPMC, 35 numbers, SB, State Biocontrol Laboratories with the grant aid, 39, and another SBCL, 98, ICR system, 48. These are all the numbers, and they basically maintain the culture and keep the culture alive and try to distribute among the farmers in a smaller way. And there are private players, 141, and they are also in the niche market area, and they are not aggressive and successful in a way what biocontrol agent to be carried out in this country intensively. So, and under this ACRIP program, so we have, you can see wherever this slide is being given, because different parts of the country people have come, companies who are very close to these areas, starting from Coimbatore to Srinagar, Jorhat to Anand Agriculture University, we have biocontrol laboratories under ACRIP program. And you can tap the resources and the technology from these laboratories and to make the biocontrol commercially. BCA as a business model, biocontrol agent as a business model, and there are several difficulties. As a person who worked in this biocontrol agent some 2.5 decades ago, I have seen what is the difficulty, because we had one Department of Biotechnology project, and right now the senior scientist of PJTU, who is the in charge for biocontrol, was with me, and we produce Cryptolemus, that is the predator that predates the mealybug. And Hyderabad was surrounded by all the grape gardens, and during the month of February or January, we go to the grape gardens around and ask them, we have the predator, we will release, and this is the best way to control your mealybug. No, 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 you don't want to release anything now, we don't have mealybug. We say it is a preventive, we try to educate everything, and when the mealybug comes, they will immediately ask, you said something about this for the control. So then we explained and said, adult mealybug. He said, no, 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 we don't want adult mealybug. If I release and it will go to the neighboring garden, I cannot control. You release the nymph. So we released the nymph and adult together, and across the, it took nearly 8 hours for us to complete the entire release. Next day we went and dichlorowas was dipped in the bunches, and behind that imidacloprid is being sprayed. So this was the problem with the growers in those days. Now things have changed, and Bangalore has become a hub because of NBIRI. Earlier it was the PDPC, Project Directorate of Biological Control, where Dr. Abraham Varghese was the director, and now Dr. Nagesh was the director, supposed to talk about this EPN. Because of his pre-commitment, he has not done it. And PCI was the first successful company that has commercialized the biocontrol agents. Unfortunately, they were not also able to meet the requirement. And for example, grape, we have 79.6 thousand hectares of grape. To meet only the grape gardens, we don't have any kind of facility right now available across India. And more than agriculture, horticulture is more suitable for these biocontrol agents because the environment is not very much disturbed. And BC labs are considered for research, for the nucleus culture supply, production and demonstration. Say for example, company like UPL come forward to take the technology forward, and we don't have the mass scale production technology standardization as well as sufficient equipment as well as the infrastructure to meet the requirement of the country. The seed industry is the best example for private-public partnership program. Majority of the seeds are from ICR system, and this has been commercialized successfully, and the seed industry is one of the best example. And this 3 Ps also can be similar to seed. And the challenges, shelf life is the real problem. Now, fortunately, Trichogramma Chilonis or Trichogramma, whatever the species it is, only 7 days to 10 days we can store. But whereas now, very recently, when one of the meet, this PDPC said, it can be stored for 3 months under minus 15 degrees centigrade. That is very, very welcoming statement from them, and they need to transfer this technology at free of cost. We requested, and they have also agreed. So that is a welcome state. And alternative ways of producing a Chinese model, for example, we need a host to produce all this. We depend more on Coursera, and it is cumbersome, difficult. Chinese are producing in a semi-synthetic diet. That is more easy and easy to scale up. That we need to do it. Awareness and availability, I discussed about it. IPM, pesticide industry as a social obligation, because pesticide industry, they need to promote this IPM through by introducing all these products, and unfortunately they also forget, government also forget, farmers are also forgotten. And best way forward, what is the way forward? Best example is how the America and Mexico was able to manage the pink bollworm menace in their respective countries. 100 years before, it was an invasive pest both in US as well as the Mexico, and they were struggling to control. When they were introducing this transgenic cotton, they introduced in 2005, they have started introducing the male sterile release. They sterilize the male and release in the environment in mass scale, so that this male can mate with the productive female, but still they won't lay the egg. Because they have the refugee crop also in the place of all this. So, in 2005 they introduced, it was 2 billion insect in those days, and it has come down to 0 in 2013. And 187 billions have been saved between 2014 and 2019 by US, both in Mexico and America. Finally, I'm constrained with the timing. Finally, I just wanted to conclude only one thing. This biocontrol agent have to be promoted under private-public partnership. Experience is there. Industry is here to shoulder the responsibility, but not as a business model right now. This is my personal suggestion. You can debate on it, because it is the responsibility of both the government and the industry to popularize, mass produce, scale up, mass produce, popularize among the growers. At least let us start with the trichogramma, and across the country we should have the production centers, and with the moderate pricing we should introduce them, and with the private-public partnership program, once the farmers are acquainted, because for example, urea, now farmers without urea, they are not cultivating, because we have acquainted them with the urea as well as the fertilizer usage. In the same way, if we start using this, then we will be one of the successful country by promoting the biologicals. Thank you very much for the opportunity given. Thank you for patience. Now, I request 4 or maximum 5 questions from the audience to the panel members. We have Dr. Rahman, we have Dr. Abraham, and we have Kopat Uday.
Thank you. This question is to Uday. Thanks for enlightening. 15 paisa per insect counting fee, is it? Yes. And per animal, horse, if I import, also 15 paisa. For insect also 15 paisa. So 75,000 rupees per acre is the, or hectare is the counting cost. Yeah, counting cost. I think, has it been taken up with the government? Do they know about the charging so much money? No. This particular thing. Import duty. Introduced. Thank you. Import duty is 30%. No, counting charges.
No, that is on.
This inspection fee has been introduced in 2017, and it was one way it was introduced, wherein for the first 1,000 insects there is 100 rupees, and then for the next 1,000 insects, when we are doing inundative release, we need about 500,000 insects for 1 acre. So based on that, if we calculate, it was working out to 1.5 lakhs per acre. And subsequently, they, after we objected, they reduced it to 50% of it. So now it's coming to 75,000. With 75,000, we cannot really, import it. You know, it is highly impossible for the farmer to pay that, or as a company, we can't do it. So from 2017, even though we had import permit, we could not import any insects. So that's the status.
Yeah, again, this question is again, Uday, I think Venkatesh mixed up a little bit on the this thing. 30% you are talking about import duties. So the 30% of import duty, I understand it is for the animals, like race horses and elephants. And there is no specific chapter for that. And similarly, we are also having most of our biologicals coming into GST. We also have this problem of classifications in a proper way. I think from this forum, I think there should be a recommendation going in a proper way to enlighten the ministry and the policymakers to include the current biologicals as well as the future research developments, whatever has been coming, to be given in that kind of a thing. I mean, see, when the customs, tariffs and other things are written, maybe 30% or 50%, 150%, that will change, but the chapters doesn't change. Yes. And it all remained, anything closely related to insect is animal. That is what people are taking, and taking about 30%.
Yeah, exactly. I fully agree with Mr. Lakshmi Narayan, because this is classified under Chapter 1. And under Chapter 1, the first heading is animals. And in that, there is, the last one is insects. So it comes under 30%, plus there is cess. Totally we pay out about 37%. This should come under the agriculture biological control, microbials chapter, wherein when it is used for as beneficial insect for agriculture, it should come under that chapter. Whatever 5% is there, that should be done. As from our BIPA, we should make a representation of all this and go to the government and tell them, explain to them on this. Because this comes under Ministry of Commerce, the other thing comes under Ministry of Agriculture. From Ministry of Agriculture, they should also tell Ministry of Commerce, look, this is for agriculture, please consider it differently. Thank you.